Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And I'm here to answer your questions. Why? Here's why. And I don't know if you could hear, I was slapping my head. And that's not because I hate myself. No. I was summoning my inner Simon Miller from What Culture, where he does this thing to where, and of course he's not holding a microphone when he does it, and he's able to use both hands. But it's a YouTube channel that I watch, and he does this series of videos occasionally called the Why series, where he'll ask a question and then, slap his head rhythmically and say, "Here's why." And he's British and bald. And I've just started going off on a complete tangent. Why? Because that's what I do. See? Threw you a curveball there. You thought I was going to slap my head again because that's what I did earlier. No. So why am I answering your questions? Well, it's because that's what I do on Fridays. Yes. Rebecca Black has to get down on Friday. I have to answer your questions because, it's sort of a self-imposed thing that I've done here. So, first question, and I've got a couple this week, and fairly interesting. Going to do my best to answer these the way I think the people asking them want them answered. It'll all make sense in the end, hopefully. And if it doesn't make sense, then just send me another question and say, "Hey, Darryl, you didn't really answer this, at least not in the way I was hoping you would. Here's some clarification." You can always send those questions using the anonymous, if you want it to be anonymous, contact form on the website, AMA, as in Ask Me Anything. See, easy to remember, right? AMA.fppradio.com. So, first question. What is an exhausted list of ways to introduce people who have never heard of crypto before? Referring here to cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Dash, Litecoin, Zcash, things of that sort. Second part of the question, how do you find them and engage them in the most effective ways? Now, I could come up with a very huge, long list of ways that aren't necessarily effective, so you could hire a skywriter. Now, that's not going to be cheap, and it's not necessarily going to be effective, because really, who hires skywriters anymore? And is that even something that people understand what I'm talking about? So, a long time ago, not in a galaxy far away, no, here on Earth, but just, probably 20, 30 years ago, it used to be a fairly common thing for skywriters, to where there's, some dude in an airplane that has some kind of, smoke device attached to the plane. No, I'm not talking about chemtrails. But there's a thing where, they can write a message. And there's even a reference in The Wizard of Oz. Yes, I know that movie's 70 years old, but there's a reference in there where, the witch is skywriting on her broomstick, not with an airplane, but same sort of thing, where spell out a message in the sky. I could also hire, similarly to the skywriter, is the airplane that flies over top of, say, a sports stadium, and they're dragging a banner behind them. You could hire one of those people. Again, not exactly cheap, and who knows if it's really efficient, because, what are the chances that somebody's going to look up at that? Now, along that same line, there was a couple of years ago, I think it was BitPay, that actually wound up becoming the prime sponsor of a college football game, and there was the Bitcoin Bowl. And they spent somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million, but there was so much advertising because every time the game was mentioned, the Bitcoin Bowl, the Bitcoin Bowl, the Bitcoin Bowl. And all of the T-shirts for the game had the Bitcoin Bowl. And there's, Bitcoin logos. And it got a lot of free publicity of Bitcoin sponsoring a football game. The announcers, every time they came back from commercial, again. And all of the schedules of the bowl games. Bitcoin Bowl. And, the teams and then the patches and a lot of publicity. I don't know how, much ROI they wound up getting. I don't know how effective that was as outreach, but it was definitely outreach. It definitely got people talking about Bitcoin. What's this Bitcoin stuff? So those are a couple of the more, outlandish ways. A couple of the things that have happened here in Keene, New Hampshire, where I live, is advertising in a local newspaper. And not just your run-of-the-mill, oh, yeah, somebody's got to go buy a copy for $1 newspaper. No. There's a newspaper that gets delivered to every household in the county. The one of the local Bitcoiners wound up spending a couple $1,000s buying ads in this newspaper that gets delivered to every house in the county. And as part of that advertising, it wasn't just Bitcoin exists. It was, here's Bitcoin, and if you would like to get $10 free worth of Bitcoin, send an email to, and then there was an email address. We also have local meetup groups where every 8 days we go to a different location and post that up on meetup.com. There are Facebook ads, or not Facebook ads, but there are Facebook events. And I largely find Facebook to be a complete waste of time and resources without a lot of really good ROI. Stay tuned. There's more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Coinbase also allows you to buy and sell Bitcoin using a bank account or use their tools to accept Bitcoin as a merchant. Coinbase has more than 1 million consumer wallets and is trusted by over 25,000 merchants, including Overstock.com, Khan Academy, Reddit, and of course, FPP. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I'm answering your questions because it's what I do on Fridays. If you have a question, send it over. ama.fppradio.com. That contact form can be anonymous. You need to put a name. It doesn't have to be your name. It doesn't even have to be the name of an actual person. It doesn't even have to be the name of an actual goldfish or a shark or a tiger or a lion. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Just, put some letters and numbers. You can draw a little ASCII art if you want to. Doesn't matter. Just, put something in that name box. and then put something in the email box, and then put something in the form of a question in the question box. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the form of a question. You could put a really long rant if you want to. But as long as I can, make it into a question, I will answer it on the Friday Ask Me Anything, ama.fppradio.com. Going over a list where the questioner wants an exhaustive list of ways to introduce people to cryptocurrencies, follow up, how do you find them, engage them in the most effective ways. So I mentioned some of the more outlandish ways: hire a skywriter, hire somebody to fly an airplane with a banner behind it. Not really that effective. If you have $1 million, you could buy the naming rights to a sporting event, as happened a couple of years ago. Something that's a lot cheaper is some targeted advertisement, or not even necessarily targeted, because again, the newspaper ads that were run in that free newspaper in the Keene, New Hampshire area where I live, it wasn't targeted to only be delivered to the homes of people that might be interested in, because this newspaper goes to everybody in the county. But again, it was some advertising, and there was, some response. I don't know exactly how much, but there was some response to that. Again, we also have meetups every 8 days, and there have actually been people that show up to the meetup that found us just looking on the website meetup.com for events in the area. Now, if you want to know more about our specific meetup in Keene, New Hampshire, assuming you're planning to visit, or maybe you just aren't familiar with meetup.com, you can go to Keene, that's KEENE.bitcoin.com. I'll put the link in the show notes, and that takes you to the meetup. So instead of me saying meetup.com/this/blah-da-da-da-da dash blah, 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 Keene.bitcoin.com takes you to our local meetup. So that's another way. And then we've also done outreach at local fairs of passing out Bitcoin flyers. There are a good many businesses in the area that accept Bitcoin. And from what I have, found out through interaction with various business owners, because most of them do have little or not flyers, but, like a quarter page postcard size thing. What is Bitcoin? They'll get questions about, what is Bitcoin? How's it work? Blah, blah, blah. So when people see something and there's a human nearby that they can ask a question to, that's also another good way. But, really, well, what you need to do if you're going to try doing some outreach to get people to use Bitcoin, you could just walk down the street handing out, flyers about Bitcoin. That's probably not the most effective way. But maybe there's a tech conference that's happening, and you could go target people at that event. Hopefully I answered the question, and I'm sure that there are probably some other ways. Oh, also radio ads. That's another way, and also something that has happened here in Keene, New Hampshire, where, again, someone from the local Bitcoin group bought some radio ads, and those things ran a good bit. And again, they were enticing people of, hey, you want to get $10 worth of Bitcoin? And at the time that they were giving away that $10 worth of Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin was in like the $2,000 range, and today it's somewhere near $6,000. I understand that earlier today it kissed $6,000 on one exchange before dropping down to still only be about $5,980. And so if somebody would have gotten that $10 and then maybe bought a little bit more, then they'd have $50 or so right about now. And again, that's assuming that they bought like another $10. So again, hopefully I answered the question. If you need more clarification, again, send an email to or go to the contact form, ama.fppradio.com. Let me know. Now, before I go on to the next question, since there was a question about Bitcoin, specifically how to get people to wind up using it, maybe you already have some Bitcoin and you want to actually use the Bitcoin to buy something tangible. Well, there's a company that's been around since 1977 that can help you turn that Bitcoin into something tangible, specifically precious metals. We're talking gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and I'm talking about Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. They've been around for over 40 years. Again, helping people buy and sell precious metals like gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and they're a Bitcoin-preferred business. They've permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. So if you want to get your hands on some gold and silver and you want to use Bitcoin to do it, call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760. That's 800-874-9760. Or you can visit online at rrbi.co. That's RRBI, as in Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Incorporated, rrbi.co. Stay tuned. There are more questions here on the Ask Me Anything episode of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. And remember, if you have questions, send those over, ama.fppradio.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com. Born into a devastating world and raised among the crowd, the Cloudwalker assumes a new identity and begins the unrelenting quest for truth. In this epic journey, he discovers dark secrets about aspects of his previous life that he once trusted. Through the Journal of the Cloudwalker, he shares both the traumatic hardships and the eternal beauties of his experiences. Fueled in the beginning by his unsettling thoughts and emotions, he learns how to find peace with everything he has woken up to. Dear Society by the Cloudwalker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism, answering your questions. Question from Mr. Scott McDonald, the ANCAP barber, who, no, I've never actually gotten a haircut from because, well, he still lives in Alabama, Greenbow, Alabama. As a matter of fact, no, he doesn't actually live in Greenbow because Greenbow does not exist. How do I know that? Well, because I was born and raised there. And also, when the movie Forrest Gump came out, I was like, where's Greenbow? And because I don't know, like there are tiny little towns all over everywhere, right? Greenbow's not an actual town. It's based largely on Bayou La Batre, which is down near the Gulf. And Mr. Scott McDonald lives not anywhere near the Gulf, or at least, as far as Alabama goes. Like, he could be further away from the Gulf, but then he would be in, like, Tennessee. So, anyway, Scott McDonald from the ANCAP Barbershop has a question. He says, Darryl, in a recent episode, you stated that all relationships end either in breakup or death. And, yes, last week there was a question about relationships and can a relationship last if the parties involved like different sports teams? And yes, I did say And I was also quoting someone, but, upon thinking about it, that's basically, how relationships end, right? Either breakup or death. Continuing on here, he says, can you think of a good way to avoid this? At least in the metaphorical sense. I want to do something to preserve the legacy of my relationship with my wife, but don't have any good ideas just yet. Well, Mr. Scott McDonald, you, sir, are in luck because I've got an answer for you. And I'm going to possibly reference a television show. Well, I'm definitely going to reference a television show, whether or not you've actually seen the television show before, and whether or not I, hashtag spoiler warning, whatever. I might just wind up starting to put that in the show notes of hashtag spoiler warning, just because, I talk about and things have been out for several years. I feel like it's okay to talk about. But I digress. So there's this television show called Black Mirror. There's one of the episodes in season 3 where, and if you are not familiar with Black Mirror, it's basically a modern day futuristic techno version of, what was the Twilight Zone. I almost said the Scary Door because I think that's what the Family Guy wound up calling. They had a spoof thing one time, and it's the Scary Door. But anyway, it's kind of like a Twilight Zone to where each thing, or rather each episode, is standalone, and there's not necessarily a common connector, although there are recurring themes. And the recurring themes generally are advanced technology. But there's one episode in particular where this woman is married. She winds up getting pregnant. Her new husband winds up dying, I think, in a car crash. And she finds out, there is a service that you can actually wind up text messaging back and forth. Now, it's not actually your late husband. But, the service, they take all of his public posts on social media, and they come up with, a algorithm and formula, and they, have pretty much been able to replicate things that he would have said. And so she signs up, and she's texting back and forth, and then she winds up getting a, message of, we've got this beta program to where you can upgrade and make telephone calls to your loved one. And then she, at some point, winds up, we've got this other program to where here's this mannequin-like thing, and we can upload your late husband into this mannequin robot thing, and then it's like he never left. Well, it's not just sci-fi. It might actually be actual science. Article from Wired, from the UK version of Wired. And I'm not going to have time to jump too deep into this article, but headline: this creepy AI will talk to loved ones when you die and preserve your digital footprint. So, Scott McDonald, it seems like you can upload yourself, or a copy of parts of yourself, to the internet and wind up being put inside some kind of cell phone application sort of thing. The company Eternimi, like eternity, but .me instead of eternity. So ETERNI.me needs to clear this up quickly, Wired says, because when you're building a fledgling artificial intelligence company that promises to bring back the dead, or at least their memories and character as preserved in their digital footprint for virtual chats with loved ones, expect a lot of flat. Stay tuned. There's more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to BIPCOT.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com.
Hi, this is Roger Paxton from the Lava Flow Podcast, the Free Coast Freecast, and Pax Libertas Productions, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. We're talking about chatting with a robot version of yourself after you're dead. Why? Because I got asked the question of, Darryl, you stated recently that all relationships end in either death or breakup. Can you think of a good way to avoid this, at least in a metaphorical sense? Goes on to say, I want to do something to preserve the legacy of my relationship with my wife, but don't have any good ideas just yet. So, yeah, it sounds like there's a company, Etername, that will upload you to some kind of computer thing after you're dead and allow you to wind up texting maybe back and forth with loved ones. Wired, again, has the story where they're saying, this is really, really creepy. Quote from one person on Reddit on a thread says, it's going to really suck. Think Cleverbot with weird out-of-place references to things from that person's life masquerading as that person. Again, that was on a thread from Reddit, which immediately appeared after Etername's launch was announced last week. And, well, that's last week as of when this was written back in 2014. Yeah, so this is something that apparently has been around for a while. Retorts range from the bemused, now this is scary effed up right there, WTF, to the amusing. Imagine a world where drunk you has to reason with sober AI you before you're allowed to drunk dial every single person you've ever dated or saw naked. So many awkward moments wind up being avoided. But the resounding consensus seems to be that everyone wants to know more. The site launched with the look of any other Silicon Valley internet startup, but a definitively new take on an old message. While social media companies want you to share and create the story of you while you're alive, and life-logging company Memento promises to capture meaningful and shareable moments, Etername wants to wrap all of that up for those you leave behind into a cohesive AI they can chat with. And there's definitely more, and they even reference the Black Mirror episode in this article. But, yeah, it's really scary. And then the interesting part is after your other loved ones die and they're uploaded to computers, then it's just going to be computer versions of everybody chatting back and forth. Right? Maybe? Who the hell knows? If you've got more questions, send those over ama.fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.